This PowerPoint presentation is a very brief review of MLA citation and documentation for research essays. There's no way to do a comprehensive review of MLA because there's just too many variations and changes and deviations from the norm. So what this PowerPoint is going to do is kind of give you the basics and then show you some places where you can go to find where to cite those variations and those changes and those deviations. Okay. So MLA, to cite something or to use a source in your essay in MLA, we have two different ways we have to cite it. One is in the text of the essay, and the second is in the works cited page at the end of the essay. The in-text citation is always a partial reference. The works cited page is the complete reference. So you need to make sure that anytime you're using an idea or words from an original source in your essay that you do both. You have an in-text citation and you include it on the works cited page. So the first thing we're going to focus on are the in-text citations, giving credit to your sources in the body of your essay. In-text citations come in two different ways. They can be a signal phrase or a parenthetical reference. A signal phrase is when you include the citation in the body or in the sentence in your own language. So something like so-and-so says, or in such and such an article. A parenthetical reference is going to come at the end of the cited material, goes in parentheses, parenthetical reference, and includes the correct thing. So for each time you cite something, the ideal pieces of information, first step, you're looking for an author's name and a page number. Okay, and that's the standard citation. You can do a combination of signal phrases and parenthetical references to do that. I'll show you here. So we can do a signal phrase, Wiggins states that our cat is the smartest, most loving cat in the world, or one cat lover shares that our cat is the smartest, most loving cat in the world, Wiggins 15. So here I have both pieces of information in the parenthetical reference. Here I have a signal phrase and then a parenthetical reference. Some combination, we want the last name and the page number. I'll warn you, a lot of the examples in here are going to be about my cat. It just makes it easy for me to come up with examples, so bear with me. The idea with the in-text citations is that it's a partial reference that's going to lead the reader to your works cited page, where you're going to give them the full reference. So we don't include a lot of additional information. I don't need the name of the article, I don't need the name of the book, I don't need the year it was published, I don't need the URL, I don't need anything else like that. It's just last name and page number. This is just leading us to that works cited page. One really common deviation that's worth mentioning is if your author is unknown, you don't know who wrote the author. A lot of websites, for example, may not give a specific author's a list of specific author at the top. Sometimes it could be an organization or something like that. So if the author is unknown, you still need to cite your source. Okay. So the first piece of information you want is the last name, page number. If you don't have a last name, instead you're going to include the title, the small title. It's not the title of the website, it's the title of the article on the website. You can include in the signal phrase the whole article of the whole name of the article, or in the parentheses you can do a short version of the title. Notice that these are both in quotation marks. A short title we always put in quotation marks. A long title we always put in italics. Short title are things of short works that are generally found inside of a bigger work. So think a newspaper article is found inside of a newspaper. Newspaper gets italicized, the name of the article gets in quotes. A song is generally published on a CD. The name of the CD or the name of the album is italicized, the name of the song goes in quotation marks. That sort of goes on, etc. The name of a book would be italicized, the name of a poem would be in quotation marks. Another really common deviation is sometimes you don't have a page number. A lot of your references or a lot of your sources these days are going to be electronic. If there's no page number, it's even easier than if you don't have the author. If you don't have a page number, you just skip it. Let's see, I would just say that. An old variation of MLA used to have you put a paragraph number. You might have learned that. You don't need to do that anymore. You just need to put that last name. When the reader flips to your works cited page, they'll see that it's a web source. So there's so many MLA style guides. A writer's reference is a really great one. For this class, I asked you to buy the Penguin Guide, would be another really good one. And we'll review those a little bit at the end. Remember, we need an in-text citation anytime we summarize, paraphrase, or quote. Summary and paraphrase are two examples of times where we use sources, but we put it in our own words. Putting it in your own words still means you need an in-text citation. You still need to show where you learned that information. So make sure you're remembering to do that. A couple other in-text citation reminders. When we put the last name and the page number in the parentheses, nothing comes between them. There's no P, there's no PG, there's no number sign, there's no any other creative thing you can think to put between them. We just put the name and the page number. Another reminder is we include the parentheses in our sentence. So we save the period until after the parentheses. And sometimes you might have a quote in the middle of a sentence, and then you finish that sentence with your own language. Save your parentheses for the end of the sentence. We'll know where that belongs to. Okay, so now that we've kind of done a really, again, brief review of in-text citation, we want to kind of review the works cited page. This is where we get the full information for the sources at the end of your essay. Just having a works cited page or just having in-text citations is not enough. Both of them need to be in your paper to avoid plagiarizing and to receive credit for your ideas. So the works cited page comes at the end of our essay. It's a list of all the sources that we cited or that we quoted, paraphrased, or summarized in our essay. That's why we call it works cited. Generally, you want to begin that in a new page at the end of your essay, and you're only going to include the ones that you actually used in your essay. You'll see a lot of times extra sources in there, or sometimes they don't match. So make sure that whatever you put in your parentheses or whatever you put in your signal phrases matches exactly what you have at the end. Missing a works cited page is actually one example of plagiarism, so you want to make sure you always have that. So we're going to review a couple of different works cited entries just so you can kind of get a feel for them. I absolutely can't go over every type of source. It would be incredibly boring and long for us. But hopefully just seeing a couple of them will help you start to figure out what kind of stuff you want to go to. Your little Penguin handbook, again, is going to have all of the different variations and ideas from that. And there's a couple of online sources, too. If you can't figure it out, you don't know, email me. Email me the source. Tell me what it is, and I'll see if I can kind of help point you to the right place. So sometimes when we're doing researching, we're using a book. So if you're going to use a book, you want to generate the works cited page entry. We want to find some particular pieces of information. So we want to look for the author. Always when we format an author in a works cited page, we're going to start with the last name, comma, and the first name. We're going to have the title and the subtitle of the book. Here on this PowerPoint, I've underlined where it's italicized. Sometimes it's hard to see the italics, but that should be in italics. Big title, italics. We're looking for the city of publication, the publisher, the date of publication. It's also called the copyright date. The medium, you can decide if that's print, you're holding in your hand, or if it's web or electronic, if you're looking at it on a tablet or something like that. Okay, and then we're going to format it like this. Last name, first name, title, subtitle, city of publication, publisher, date, medium. Where this breaks, this isn't where you should break. This is just the end of the line. So it should just break wherever the end of the line is for you. Couple of variations to be aware of. If you have two authors, you include both of them in the works cited page. Keep them in the order that they're published. In academic works, generally the first author is treated as slightly differently than any other contributing authors. So we just want to keep them in the same order how they're listed. In a works cited entry, we do the last name, first name, and first name, last name. We only reverse that first author. Okay. Sometimes if you have two publisher location, you pick the one closest to you. That's more likely the one you have in your hands. There's more than one copyright years. Maybe it says copyright 1951, 1963, 1972. Always put the more more current one, 1972. You can do a short version of the publisher name. Something like, instead of Penguin Publishing Company, you can just do Penguin or Penguin PUB, or something like that. And make sure you understand the medium. Generally, the medium is going to be print or web. There are some other mediums like electronic recording or movie or things like that, but generally you're going to end up with print or web source. Print is something you're holding the original in your hand. Web is something you found online. Okay, so an example looks like this. You can see I've got last name, first name, title of the book, city of publication, title of publisher, date, and practice print. Any ideas what the in-text citation will look like for a quote found on page 80 of this book? You should. So remember, an in-text citation ideally is looking for a last name and a page number. So last name here is Schlosser, page number is 80, and we will put that in the parentheses. A website. More specifically, this is an article from a website. Okay. So ideally, we're looking for an author again, last name, first name. We're looking for the title of the short work. Make sure you distinguish between the name of the page that you're on and the name of the website. It should be different. They should never really be the same. So if you're looking at the Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA website, there's going to be a title of an article. Maybe it says About Us, or there could be an article that says Global Warming, or an article that says Donate, or an article that says FAQs. So make sure that you're distinguishing those things. So we have title of the short work, title of the website, it's in italics. Sponsor of the website. You can tell who's paying for it when you put it in there. If you can't find the sponsor, you skip it. Update date. That's the day it was published or updated. If you can't find a date, put N period, D period. Medium. Website medium is always going to be web. Date of access. That's the day you found it on the computer. Okay, always have to put that date at the end. That's because information on the web changes so frequently, you want to show when it was that you saw it. And so this is what that actual thing will look like put together. Again, sponsor doesn't start, it only starts a new line because it doesn't fit on my previous line, so it breaks wherever it breaks for you. A couple of variations and reminders. How we do dates in MLA, we do them backwards or European style. So you do day, month, year. Remember the title of the website, so it's italicized. Skip any information you don't know or have. So, for example, if you don't have the name of the author, we skip right to the next piece of information, which would be the title of the short work, which, if you remember, is also what you put in your parentheses in your in-text citation. The only one you don't do is if you don't have a publication date. You need to put N period, D period, no date, if you don't know the date. The other one is you don't include the URL. You don't need to include that full URL anymore. Some citation generators or some style guides might say that that's optional, or they might put it in there, but you need to be smart enough to know you can take those out. Okay, so this would be an example of one. Last name, first name, name of the article. It was on this website. It was the sponsor of the website, the date it was published, web is my medium, and then the day that I accessed it. So can you figure out what the in-text citation should look like for a quote found in the beginning of this article? Remember the most important piece of information, or our default, we want a last name and a page number. Last name is Burrell here. Page number for a website. Any ideas? I hope you said you don't need one. You can just skip it for the thing. Even if you printed it out and it's on your page 1 of your printout, don't put page 1 on there. Only put it the page if it's the same page that anybody would have on any computer as they're accessing it. Okay, so for here I would just put Burrell in parentheses. Another difference we want to think about is sometimes when we have an article that we find through a library database, we have to cite it differently. Something to be aware of. So for this one, these are the pieces of information we need to gather. Author, again, last name, first name. Title, subtitle of the article. Name of the periodical, where it's being published. Date of the publication. Page numbers. Those are the original page numbers, even if you can't see them. Any kind of online database like EBSCO or New York or Chicago Tribune, they're going to tell you what those original page numbers are in the original. The additional pieces of information here you need are the database name. So make sure you show what database you got it from. So the Chicago Tribune Online, Is it Academic Search Complete? Is it Business Premier? What was the database name? Again, any record from one of our library databases is going to tell you. Medium is always web. If you use the library database, your medium is web. And then again, your date of access. You put it together like this. Variations, if you don't have an author, remember we just skip it. Go right to the article title. Shorten date month, so we can do day. MAR instead of March. SEP instead of September. And then make sure that you're distinguishing. Even if you print it off, it's still a web source. That's how you originally accessed it. So here's an example. I'm missing an author here. Start right with the title. Time Magazine, the day it's published, original pages. Academic Search Premier, that's the database I found it on. Web, and then the date that I found it. So if I want to do a quote found on the first page of this article, what would my in-text citation look like? I hope you remember, if you don't have an author, you start with the next piece of information over here on the left, which is the short version of the title. So for this one, I would do, quote, food additives. Got to put it in quotes to show that it's a title. And then I would put the page if I could see it in the original pages. If I couldn't see it, then I would leave it blank. So I might say 43, or it might just say food additives. Another one, an interesting one, pretty easy to do. A lot of people ask me, well, what if I want to interview someone about my topic, or what if someone sent me an email about it? Those are great things to cite, but we do need to cite them as well. So you need the person interviewed, their last name, first name. You need the medium. Generally, the medium is going to be personal interview or personal email. Think about that. And then the date of the interview. That's it. It's the only pieces of information you need. You can see it's really short. So an example, if you're interviewing me, Williams Victoria, personal interview, 2nd of October, 2013. So then I would, if I wanted to cite that, personal email, again, if you emailed someone for an interview. If you want to quote from the personal interview, we can look at it. I'm going to put the last name. Obviously, I don't have a page number because it's an interview, so that's all I need. Parentheses, Wiggins. Some general works cited page reminders. First of all, it's got to be, you should alphabetize your references that you put on there. If you don't have an author, we alphabetize it by the first word in the title, whatever is on the most left-hand side. Generally, you want to get in the habit of starting a works cited page on a new page. As we're doing that, we always reverse indent. That means the first line is on the left, and then the other second, third, fourth lines are going to be indented a little bit. We double space the entries, but we don't leave any extra space between them. Okay. And then to check them, the first word in your works cited entry should always match the word used in your parenthetical citations. Usually it's the last name. So you can check what I put in parentheses is the same as the first thing on the left-hand side of my works cited entry. Here's an example of what a works cited page would look like. You can see it's called works cited. As I do that, I have my references. The first line looks like that, and then the second, third line of the same one are all indented. So you can see each time I have something on the left, that's saying that that's a new source. It's pretty easy to do that through Microsoft Word as well. No extra spaces between them, all double spaced. You can see I've also italicized the things that need to be italicized. So don't forget to go through and do that for yourself. So don't despair. If that's new, or if that's confusing, or if that's overwhelming for you, it's not easy, MLA. But the good news is it's not trying to trick you. There's so much help available to you. Okay. So first place to look would be your little Penguin Handbook. You were required to buy that for this class. You're going to be required to have it again in 1102. So it's going to be a huge help for formatting citations. It has a whole chapter on MLA style. It gives you all the variations. What if you have 3 authors? What if you have 5 authors? What if it's a pamphlet? What if it's a YouTube video? It'll show you what all those things are. The Purdue Owl is actually one of my favorites. I'm going to see if we can get to that one. You can see here's the online writing lab here. OWL, Online Writing Lab. I'm going to go to the MLA, Formatting and Style Guide. Here it tells you a lot of things like the general format of your paper. Shows you what the first page of your paper should look like. You can see the heading and the like that. But over here on the left-hand side, it has MLA in-text citations, formatting questions, MLA works cited, basic format, and then it breaks it down. So things like books, periodicals. A periodical is something like a newspaper or a magazine, and electronic sources, and other common sources. These ones are probably the weirdest ones, so they're good ones to look at. Click on electronic sources. It gives me a whole bunch of stuff to do as I'm looking at it. So just scrolling down, setting an entire website, page on a website. That's the one that you're going to use a lot. We just went over. An article in a web magazine, an article in an online scholarly journal, online database. Remember, those are the ones that you do through the library. They should look different. An email. How we should do that. A tweet. And then maybe even more helpfully, a YouTube video would be a common one there. They also have in the additional other common sources. Interview, we run over that one. Speeches, painting or a photograph, how to do that. Films or movies, some of you might be using a documentary or something. Making sure you do that. Recorded films or movies. Television, a radio program, if you're using a television program for a source. Sound recordings, like a song, etc. So lots of different information there. Okay. So the Purdue OWL is free, online. Just type in OWL and it'll come up. I have a handout on basic in-text citation rules in this unit. You can look at that. That's just for the in-text citation, some of the different variations. A lot of the databases that you might be using, most of the COD ones actually have some kind of a cited tool. I should say tool. So make sure you select MLA anytime you're doing that, but it'll generally generate a pretty accurate reference for you. Ask me! That's another reference. Ask a librarian. They have a lot of online and telephone reference desk hours. You can ask them right from your house. And I did put a link to that in your course materials as well. And then there are a lot of online citation generators out there. EasyBib is one that I hear a lot, etc. EasyBib is a good one, but it generally uses a slightly outdated version of MLA. For example, it'll always put your URL at the end. So make sure that you're checking it with the correct MLA and making the changes for accuracy. If you do it through EasyBib and they do it wrong, you're still responsible. You still get the points taken off. So make sure you understand it well enough that you know what's going on. Okay. So there's a lot of help available to you. You're not alone. You're not the only one who's confused about MLA citation. It's hard. But it's really important to master. It's the way that we document our sources and show where we learned our information. It makes us look credible, and it gives credit to the people that we're taking our information from. So, as I said, it may not seem brief, but this is a really brief introduction to MLA citation. Do your best, ask questions when you have it, and I know that you're going to do a great job. So, document those sources. Anytime you use an idea or a quote from a source, make sure that you're citing where you found that in text and that works cited page, and you should be off to a great start. Alright, happy writing!